Is AWANI tonight. Worker shortage behind Employment Act changes delay, but union says reason not good enough. And Rafizi shuts down talks of Pakatan PN alliance in GE15. That's coming up. The ceiling price of standard chicken, set at 9 ringgit 40 cents per kilogram, will not be raised after August 31st, while the 3-cent subsidy for eggs will remain, says Jihad Against Inflation Special Task Force Chairman Tan Sri Anwar Musa. Now, according to him, this decision will remain in place indefinitely as the government continue to monitor overall chicken output and export volume. At the same time, the cabinet agreed that only certain farms rearing chickens specifically for export can begin exporting their goods in October. This is after they obtain approval from the Agriculture and Food Industries Ministry. Rafizi Ramli has ruled out any possibility of Pakatan Harapan cooperating with Perikatan Nasional to face the 15th general election. The PKR deputy president says history has shown that such an alliance with the sole intention of toppling Barisan Nasional was not viable. Rafizi said this decision was taken at PH meeting held on Wednesday. He said that PKR, as the backbone of PH, adheres to the principle of a coalition that involves all races in the country. If the intention to cooperate with PN is not correct, that is to only topple BN, it will create an unstable government. Earlier, PN chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin was quoted as saying that all opposition party leaders should consider reopening the door to negotiations with PN if they all agree that the main enemy in GE15 is BN. The special task force formed to look into allegations by former Attorney General Tan Sri Tommy Thomas in his book has found 19 key issues which required government attention. De facto Law Minister Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar says the findings will be featured in a final report to be tabled before the cabinet soon. Putrajaya had set up the task force last December to probe Thomas's book titled My Story, Justice in the Wilderness, which covered his stint as Attorney General from 2018 to 2020. Among others, he addressed the appointment of judges, alleged interference by the executive in the judiciary, and claims of selective prosecution. The task force was headed by former Sarawak Attorney General Datuk Sri Fong Joo Chung. Thomas has said he will not be cooperating with the task force, as he felt that the existence of such a task force would compromise the independence of the Attorney General's chambers. The Sultan of Perak today underscored the importance of unbiased and independent judges as they represent the nation's judicial system. Sultan Nazrin Muizzuddin Shah says that a transparent judgment reflects a credible justice system that is not influenced by fear for anyone. He said the judge is an important person and plays a major role in ensuring the credibility and integrity of the judiciary. Any form of doubt must be avoided, and a judge should be free from any influence or pressure. Sultan Nazrin was speaking at the launch ceremony of Perak's first Sharia journal in Ipoh. He added that as a leader of Islam in charge of religious matters, he wholeheartedly supported the independence of the Sharia judicial system. And in order to create a credible and authoritative institution, he said judicial officers must be sent for training, equipped with skills and given the necessary exposure. Pengerang MP Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said said that she is keen to file a private member's bill for a constitutional amendment allowing Malaysian mothers to confer citizenship to their overseas-born children. She, however, expressed doubt if the bill will see the light of day in the Dewan Rakyat unless it is supported by MPs.
In a statement today, Azalina, who is the chair of the Parliamentary Special Select Committee on Women and Children Affairs and Social Development, said that the existing nationality law can lead to human rights violations. while affected children are exposed to unequal access to education, healthcare, economic opportunities, and social protection. Azalina's comments, however, have received criticism. PKR Wanita Vice Chief Sangeeta Jayakumar said Azalina should be the one persuading the government to push the amendments through, as she is serving as the Prime Minister's advisor on law and human rights matters. Sangeeta also questioned why the government could not make the constitutional amendment now, instead of listing it in their election manifesto. On August 14th, UMNO Wanita stated in their proposed election manifesto that they would champion the amendments. Sangeeta urged for the amendments to be tabled during the Parliament sitting for Budget 2023, which will commence on October 3rd.
Enforcement of the amendments to the Employment Act was postponed due to worker shortage, according to Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan. He says it would be more suitable to implement shorter working hours after the issue of labour shortage is resolved in a month or two.
Saravanan said it was important to give some space for employers to recover their businesses in the meantime. Reducing working hours from 48 hours to 45 hours, he said, could raise problems with productivity. The minister added that around 47,000 foreign workers have entered Malaysia to fill in gaps in the job market, 19,000 of which are from Nepal. Last Friday, Saravanan announced that enforcement of amendments to the Employment Act would be postponed from September 1st to January 1st, citing economic recovery.
The Malaysian Trades Union Congress, MTUC, wants no more delay to the enforcement of amendments to the Employment Act 1955. President Effendi Abdul Ghani says the government should not succumb to pressure and instead prioritize the welfare and protection of workers.
There's no engagement in the MTUC. That's why we also shocked by surprise when the government announced the postponement within 4 days or 5 days to implement on 1st September. So we need a discussion with the government. Is there any guarantee? Since less than 4 days to implement for the new amendment, the government postponed to the new 1st January 2023. But what is the guarantee for the government to implement in January 2023? That's why we urge the government to call the tripartite dialogue discussion, to call the MTUC representative for the workers, that we need to discuss, is it what the guarantee for the governments to implement 1st January 2023? Is it any possibility to be postponed against? That's why MTUC, we really want the governments to call urgent meeting for all the stakeholders, including MTUC, so we can have the detailed explanation for the governments why this action be taken by the government.
Effendi highlights some of the importance of the amendments to the Employment Act that can boost workers' welfare and productivity.
The objective for the amendment, I think, to increase and improving the protections and welfare of workers in this country. Once it's delaying the things, I think it will impact all the workers in our country. Second, I think it really want to ensure that the provision of our law in our country in line with the international standards outlined by the international labor organizations. And last but not least, I think the amendment, really want to make it easier to Malaysia to negotiate trade agreements. Since the TIP report showed that our country was in the tier 3, with this amendment, I think it will improve our country in the maybe to coming back on tier 2, because it also because in the amendment, including the the best thing is about the all the workers, the coverage for the amendments is for all workers in our country without the limit on the salary. And second thing is that the increasing the maternity for the for the women workers in Malaysia from 90 to 90th day, and also paternity for the husband or male workers in Malaysia for 7 days. And the most important thing is about we have the less from the 48 hours to 45 hours working condition in the weeks.
Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob says Putrajaya has approved an allocation for the distribution of 1,200 megawatts for solar power. The government will be implementing a program aimed at improving the nation's electricity supply system as part of efforts to transition to renewable energy.
The new quota will be distributed under existing mechanisms such as the installation of solar panels on the roofs of government buildings. It will also be distributed through exploration of new RE programs such as solar park development as well as green hydrogen generation. The government had also agreed for new procurement options of green electricity supply through the virtual power purchase agreement concept. It will start in the fourth quarter this year with a quota of 600 megawatts. For electric vehicles, a legal regulatory framework will be established for the safety of EV charging infrastructure, also to be enforced in the fourth quarter of 2022.
We will go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
COVID-19 memperlihatkan kepada kita betapa pantasnya adaptasi teknologi di kalangan PKS kita. Niaga AWANI dan Unified Business akan menyelami perjalanan kebangkitan semula PKS kita melalui segmen Jiwa SME setiap Selasa dan Khamis untuk inspirasi anda.
Transformasikan perniagaan dengan Unified Business, rakan digital pilihan anda. Hubungi kami sekarang dan jimat sehingga 50%. Jom Unified Business.
Tyson goreng rangup sedap. Tyson goreng rangup sedap. Tyson rasa sekali sudah pasti. Sedap, mudah, bermutu.
Welcome back. Pakistan has appealed to countries and the IMF to help it deal with the overwhelming floods that have killed at least 1,000 people. 33 million more were affected by severe flooding as weeks of non-stop rain destroyed millions of homes and farmlands. Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari says that the floods would worsen Pakistan's already dire economic situation and that financial aid was needed. 1 in 7 Pakistanis have been affected by the disaster this year. Pakistan was already in an economic crisis, facing high inflation and a depreciating currency. The IMF will decide this week on whether to release $1.2 billion as part of Pakistan's bailout program. Sri Lanka's President Ranil Wickremesinghe is set to slash billions of rupees in expenditure when he presents an interim budget tomorrow. The new budget will channel funds for welfare and repay interest on loans amid discussions with the IMF on a bailout package.
Earlier this month, Wickremesinghe, who is also the finance minister, said the interim budget would focus on fiscal consolidation measures agreed with the IMF. The measures include support for low-income communities worst hit by the financial crisis and fresh taxes to shrink a double-digit deficit. A full-year budget for 2023 is likely to be presented in November, along with a broader recovery plan. The nation of 22 million is facing its worst economic crisis since independence in 1948, with foreign exchange reserves crashing and the cost of basic goods at an all-time high.
Authorities in a suburb of the Indian capital, New Delhi, have demolished 2 residential high-rise buildings after a 9-year-long legal battle. The destruction of the 100-meter-high twin towers in Noida was also a rare example of India getting tough on corrupt developers and officials.
The 2 structures, which had 32 and 29 floors respectively, contained nearly 1,000 apartments that were never inhabited. They were brought down in seconds using 3,700 kg of explosives, creating an immense cloud of dust and debris. Thousands of people had to be evacuated before the blast, including from neighboring high-rises, one of which was reportedly just 9 meters away. The legal dispute over the towers went all the way to India's Supreme Court, which ruled last year that the buildings breached safety regulations and that the developers colluded with corrupt authorities.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.